So, Vu, if you could please maybe just start off by telling us a bit about your background and particularly when your interest in personal finance and financial literacy began.
Very well. Yeah. So I'm um, I'm from Montreal. So did all my schooling in French during the Bill 101 era. And so as an immigrant family, we if we had nobody who was English speaking, we went to French school. So I did all my studies in French all the way up to university and into med school. And after that, I came to Toronto, moved to Toronto, and started practicing as a family doctor and an emergency doctor. In the last 5 years, been also fell into long-term care. It hurt a bit earlier initially, but it hurts less now. And so where my journey began in financial literacy. So in my podcast, I talk about that in my first podcast. It stems from really ignorance and anger. So I explain what that means. As a physician, I was absolutely and totally ignorant about financial literacy. I figured I was the only one. And so the story is that, I started practicing when I was 26. So I was quite young when I started practicing.
Wow.
And like any physician, I knew a lot about medicine and nothing about anything else. And so as I was starting to practice, I went to my bank and went to chat with a banker. And we became friends really, really early on. And he does what he does. He says, "Vu, what are you? What do you do? And how do you invest?" I'm like, "I have no clue. Like, you tell me." And so we did the KYC, know your client. And, it's not surprising I came out as conservative type of person. So I was put in a conservative type of investment and never thought about it, never really once went back and chat. I mean, from time to time I would meet him, but, never seriously until maybe about 8 years ago. I would say 8 years ago, about 13 years into my practice. I went back to him and say, "Hey, how are we doing? What's my portfolio look like? Where are we?" And lo and behold, Vu, you're doing pretty good since inception. You've been, you did a 1 point something% rate of return. I'm like, 1 point something. I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And my jaw dropped.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was angry, but not at him. He does what he needs to do. And I was angry at myself. I'm like, what just happened there? I just lost 13 years of investing and properly doing things right. So I got really angry at myself. And that's when I realized, oh my God, how can you be so ignorant? And so I started on a journey of learning and learning all over again, because I was working literally like every single healthcare professional in Canada. We were working long hours. Just to give you an example of how long I was working. So I do my family practice in the morning, 9 to 5. I would drive down to Toronto, go do my emerge shift from 6 until midnight, and then I would go back to sleep. And then at 5 in the morning, I would wake up and go do my family practice again. All that while I was doing my MBA, while I was doing my MHSC. And then after that, I did my long-term care. And so I wake up at 5 in the morning, go for 6 o'clock. I would finish at noon, go to my family practice at 1, finish at 6 p.m., and then go to my shift at 6 until midnight. And sometimes I would have to do overnight shifts. So I'd start my overnight shift at midnight, finish at 8 a.m., drive to my family practice to start working at 9, right?
Wow.
So those were the type of hours that I was doing. And to be honest, I'm not alone. A lot of us do that. But the reason I'm telling you the story is because we do that just simply because we are committed to our craft and to our profession. But we work crazy hours and we work long hours, but we don't know how to manage our money. So we make all this money and all of it just disappears in the air and ether without us really thinking twice about it. And so that's when I realized I no longer can be ignorant, because I'm doing all these hours, making these amount of money, but I have nothing to show for it. And that's when I realized, no, that has to be the end. And in speaking with other physicians, and by all means, I'm not saying we're all the same, but I would say that, most physicians are not very good with money management. And there's a reason. Medicine is a science that evolves very quickly. I mean, just take COVID as an example. Between the time COVID started and now, we have vaccines and we have, the science moves just so fast that when you go to med school and you have to learn about things from 2000 years ago until now, you can imagine all the science and all the literature that needs to be acquired during these 4 or 5 years. There is really no time to learn about practice management. There's really no time to learn about finances. And so we're very good in medicine, and in Canada, we're very well trained. And because we're good in medicine, we're good at our craft, we can't be good at everything else. And one of those areas that we're not good at is financial literacy. And so when I realized that I'm not alone, that's when I made it sort of a self journey, self mission to make sure that my colleagues don't go through what I went through. I'm very focused on education. So that's why I've taken the route of education for my peers. I don't have a license to sell. I don't sell life insurance. I don't sell stocks. I don't sell ETFs. I'm here really to educate. And who needs the education? Well, the brand new grads. I think the brand new grads absolutely need it, because I've been doing this for 20 something years. My colleagues have been doing this for 30, 40 years. And I'm still in the same rut. And so if I'm in the same rut and I've been learning my colleagues from 30, 40 years experience, something's wrong. Something's not working. And so we have to change this paradigm, right? Sure. So for me, it's crucial that I help the young colleagues change the paradigm. Otherwise, they'll be burnout. They'll be burnout really, really fast.
Absolutely. No, great points you made. Now there seems to be somewhat of a taboo in the medical industry about financial and investing and the whole concept of financial literacy. Talk to us about that and why such taboo exists. In every other industry, you want to scale, make smart investments. Why is it that within your space that is taboo to be a smart investor or make smart investments?
Great question. And that's the beginning of my podcast. If you think about it, really deeply, in the healthcare industry, we're talking about physicians, we're talking about dentists, we're talking about nurses. These are all people with some sort of aspiration to help others, right? We are in the business of helping others. So in essence, it is an industry that is focused on altruism. And so when you think about altruism, you can't really think about, well, what about myself? What about me being financially secure, me being financially wealthy, or me having financial security? In that environment, in that space, it's almost a religion in medicine that we can't talk about money, because if I talk about money or talk about money management, well, it's about myself, it's about vous. But our profession is not about us, it's about other people. And so it has been, very much ingrained in us that we can't talk about ourselves. It's a taboo topic, because everything we talk about is about our patients. It's about society. It's about the greater good of society and humankind, which as a physician, I'm 100% agreeable to that. But it's not one or the other. It could be both. We could talk about society, we could talk about other people, but yet still talk about myself as well, because I'm human. I take this, analogy. If you cut me, I will bleed like just everybody else. And so why can't I talk about myself? And that's something that I've learned very difficultly over the years when I speak with colleagues is, no, we can't talk about this. We can't talk about this. And yet, in every lunchroom, around every single cooler, they'll always talk about, hey, what's the next stock we should buy? Oh. Hey, what about life insurance? What do you know about that? But yet we have to keep it silent. We can't talk really loud about it.
Yeah, that's
but everybody talks about it. You just can't be talking about it.